Brown Dust 2 is a game I started at launch. Then I stopped playing for a long time, and then recently came back for the anniversary. I then realized I had no idea what I was doing, so I started a whole new account to learn from scratch. Hello everyone, I'm here Mystic, and this is a crash course in surviving the early game of Brown Dust 2. Now, Brown Dust 2 is a game where offense is the best defense, and you want to sweep on the first turn. So we're going to build our account just so we can do that. There are two primary rules. The first rule is that support is king. You always want to prioritize grabbing supports because your supports are what allows you to sweep the game. The second rule is that 3 stars and 4 stars are actually very important to build, because unlike in other gacha games, they don't have lower stats. They just have a lower level cap. 3 stars can only reach to level 60, 4 stars can only reach to level 80, 5 stars can only reach to level 100. But even so, there are some 3 and 4 stars that you will use regardless of their level. So with that in mind, the first character that you need is Erinys. Now Erinys is a support unit who buffs attack, and she buffs it to an obscene amount at +5. She is easily the most important support character early on, and you will use her for the entirety of your account. So out of everyone you can get early, she is easily the most important one. Luckily, she is a 3-star, so she's really easy to pull. Next up is Cry. Cry is your early game carry. He's a damage unit that has a very good range, and he does a lot of damage, and he has defense shred. Cry also has a second ability that is more support oriented, where he restores SP and he does a knockback move. For the uninitiated, knockback is when you shove a target into another target and they take HP based damage. Cry has one of the best knockbacks in the game. So overall, as a 4-star unit, he is extremely valuable. Next up is Wiggle. Wiggle is a kamikaze unit, and that means his multiplier is so large that he is able to destroy the field pretty easily. However, he is only 3-star and he is a one-trick pony. And there will be a point where enemies will get strong enough that they can't be swept in one turn. Once that starts happening, Wiggle falls off really hard and you need to replace him. But he's good until maybe chapter 7. With all this in mind, I advise everyone starting out to start physical and do a physical team. It's not that magical teams are bad, but all the story units that you get, except for one, are physical units. So whenever you want to swap out units for a particular fight or something, Erinys will be able to support those physical units. Now with that in mind, let's get into the first banner you'll run into, which is the Infinite Reroll banner. These have specific 5-star units in that banner, but a lot of them are outdated. So at this point, there's only 2 useful 5 stars in there. Alternatively, you can just get Cry's best weapon from that banner instead of aiming for those 2 5-star units. Now, as far as the 5-star units are concerned, the first unit is Elenir. She is a physical damage unit who is honestly really strong. She is definitely the best one out of everyone in that banner. Her SP cost is on the lower side, and on top of that, she's able to dispel buffs. Dispelling buffs is actually very important in both PvE and PvP, but for PvE in particular, a lot of enemies do like to put on HP shields and buff their critical damage, and worst of all, they like to put on a counter buff. The counter buff is what kills their team most of the time, so being able to dispel that buff makes it a lot smoother for you. The other 5-star is Shara. Shara is magic based, but she also has the same dispel ability. So you will really just be getting her for the dispel unless you want to go into a full magic team, which I do not recommend, but it is an option. Now, if you just want to grab Cry's weapon, it does make Cry a lot stronger. And for me personally, I got Cry's weapon. However, in hindsight, I do think just grabbing one of the 5 stars is better, because you have to think of your account as a roster, and you want to fill out your roster. That way you can pull out whatever units you need for the situation. Now, once you're done with the Infinite Reroll banner, you should be getting a lot of tickets, and you should be able to pull like maybe 40 times, depending on when you pop up into the game. So I do suggest immediately pulling and going for the rate up banner. It's up to you if you want to try to get the rate up character, but the main goal for this is to get Erinys and Cry. If you don't get both of those units, I do suggest re-rolling. Now, once all that is done, you have a team of Erinys, Cry, Wiggle, and Elenir. Your 5th unit should be a support unit, whether it be through generating extra SP or buffing physical attack. Now, as you're progressing through the story, you will start unlocking story characters and have them in your roster permanently. Out of 4 of them, the only ones that are important are Shara and Justia. Justia is nice because in the early game, she does fixed damage. That means she ignores all defense and damage mitigation. However, she is unable to crit. Due to this, she falls off fairly hard once you get past the early game. But in the early game, she's actually quite beastly. And as for Shara, I did already talk about her, but yes, you do get her in the story for free. Now, my primary suggestion for progressing through the story is to literally just enjoy the story. The gameplay is honestly not difficult at all. You can auto-battle a lot of it, and due to that, the gameplay may feel kind of slow, but the story is pretty good. Now, I'm going to have a controversial opinion here, but I do believe once you finish Chapter 8, you should grab Leatrice. The reason why this is controversial is because people do suggest holding on to that contract until you finish Chapter 10, where you can get Diana, who is literally the most important support in the game. The reason why I believe you should just grab Leatrice instead is because she is an extremely strong unit with one of the best AoEs in the game. Once you grab Leatrice, you should replace Wiggle with her because she is obscenely better than Wiggle, and she will allow you to do a lot more stuff outside of story mode as well. Once you grab Leatrice, I do suggest taking a pause on the story and do Hunting Grounds. In Hunting Grounds, there's 2 primary things you want to farm. You want to use the torches to grab crystals, and you want to use cooked rice to fight slimes and grab EXP. As far as crystals are concerned, what crystals you want depends on your account, but if your best damage dealer at that point is Leatrice, then get fire crystals so you can unlock her potentials. Do try to push to finish the boss on very hard difficulty. That way you can use the rest of your torches and rice on quick hunts on the highest difficulty. That way you can get highest yield per currency spent. Do not worry about the enemy CP number, it literally doesn't matter. And then once you're done with that, go to your inventory and open up all your packs. Then use either Fred or Layla to craft rare gear, and then level up to +9 for the extra stats. Prioritize weapon, hands, and crit damage necklace. Gearing your supports are low priority, but if you have the materials, then feel free to do so. If you need more materials, use Shara's ability to craft those materials. Now, if you do run out of materials, I do not recommend spending torches on gathering those materials because you get so many of them on just doing events. After that, you can go back to the story, and my suggestion at that point is to push to the end of Chapter 10 so you can recruit Diana. Now, once you finish Chapter 10, you are officially out of the early game, and at this point, the enemy scale is so high that you will start hitting a wall in story content. At this point, you should collect your achievement awards, focus on the newbie pass, focus on events, focus on PvP because that is important, focus on Evil Castle, which is just a tower mode, and do the event called Last Night every day. Then once all of those stamina-based events are done, do your character packs, then do hard mode and very hard mode on both story and character packs. Now, this will take a pretty long time to do. I want to say I took around 30 to 40 hours to reach this point myself. I'm currently in the middle of Chapter 11, and I'm currently at a wall. So I'm at the point now where I'm just grinding away to get my character stronger and build up my roster. So next time, we'll talk about how to properly progress your account. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If not, I hope you gained something from this, whether it be knowledge or amusement.